Recording in progress.
Hello,
Hello.
welcome to the pod.
Welcome to Are We in Agreement? Um, Becca needs to skip the pleasantries today because we're getting
We're in a
straight
little
to
bit of a
business.
rush.
hmm And we're talking about, dare I say, one of Becca's favorite topics ever.
This is a terrible episode to be rushed, but things turned out how to be. So, we're talking
Mm.
about time travel today, and there was little communication back and forth. All we said was time travel. So, I'm interested to see if Hannah took this the same way I did, because I was talking about not the mechanics of time travel. This is time travel in pop culture, like specific movies and things, but like the kinds of time travel that like how they work within timelines and things. That's mostly what I talk about. That's what I prepared. I prepared stuff. So that's how you know we're getting serious.
See, and I knew you prepared stuff for this, but I actually did not prepare much. I did a little preparation, but I figured you would do most of the talking.
Yeah,
This is your area of expertise.
yeah, I do
So,
be love talking about time travel. You know what? Let's just get straight into it. Here's what I'm going to talk about. There's different how the time travel relates to its own thing. Because there's one, and I didn't have anything to write on, so we're going to be writing on the back of some games. Okay, so in Harry Potter, and I'm using Harry Potter because I think most people know Harry Potter and both know it and understand how the time travel works within its own thing. Harry Potter timeline, I'm gonna draw a picture because that's how it works. Harry Potter timeline, one timeline, as you can so clearly see with this one singular line I've drawn. When they go back in time, they go back onto that same timeline one timeline, they jump back and then continue forward. They've always they've always have been there because there's only one timeline. When they go back in time, they've already gone back in time. There is no changing things, which is why the cursed child is so frustrating because they break their own rules. In this kind of time travel, you should not be able to go back and do things that haven't already been done because they weren't done, quote unquote, the first time. They've never been done, so they can't ever be done. Which is why people are like, "Oh, why didn't they go back and with the time travel with the time turner and kill Voldemort? Why didn't they go back with the time turner?" And this, they couldn't have because they didn't. If they had, it would have been different from the beginning, but they didn't, so they couldn't have. This, I like this kind of time travel because that's the answer to everything. How come they didn't do that? How come they did this? They couldn't have because it turned out this way at the start. Maybe they could have in your own dreams, in your own little canon, but that's not how it happened in the story, so it couldn't have happened further. You're making faces like you have thoughts.
yeah, so we have talked about the Harry Potter time travel before, and I personally think this is the best use of time travel because it doesn't, okay, like
It's
here's
non-problematic.
yeah, non-problematic. Kind of what I prepared was like I took that there's a couple different types of time travel. For example, the Harry Potter, which is where you go back in time and change things, but then it becomes reality. So in a sense, like there's one line. And then but in the MCU, there are timelines upon timelines and you can jump between timelines. That one gets very messy. And then and then there's like I don't know what to call all these different versions, but but then I thought there are like Groundhog Day is a time travel where you just keep repeating the same day until whatever happens. And then um different ones like you go back in time and then it changes the future or um like um Days of Future Past, you go back in time, but it doesn't change the future until you go back to the future. Those are the kind of things that I was looking at with my time travel homework. But what I wanted to say about Harry Potter was I do think it is the best use because it is not messy. Hi, Mom. It's not messy and but it becomes tricky to understand in the sense that when you think about time travel, you think about going back in time. Like, why would you go back in time? To change something, right? Or to experience something or whatever. Most of the times, people are in movies, at least, people are trying to go back in time to change the future or change something or learn knowledge or whatever. So when you think about Harry Potter, they go back in time and it's like, oh, we have done this thing, so now the future will be different. But really, it's the one line, one reality. So the future isn't different because it's as if it always happened. So I think when we were talking about Days of Future Past in that episode, I kind of was saying like, so then it's like you not didn't even time travel, like it doesn't matter because what you did technically already happened, but it does matter because if you choose not to travel back in time, then your reality will reflect that. So see where how it gets
Yeah,
confusing to explain, but it makes sense in the time travel reality.
I'm gonna keep going with my different time travels because I think laying them all out is much easier to talk about after they're all like Harry Potter, very good time travel. Thumbs up from Becca. Here are some other kinds of time travel. Famously, Back to the Future. Here's how they work in Back to the Future. There's one timeline. They go back in time. The act of going back in time, even if you didn't change anything, you're now on a new timeline. You can't, hold on.
I
You
think you
can't
should get
ever,
a marker.
no, you can see much clearly. You can't ever
There
go
you go, there
back
you go.
to the same timeline. The act of going back in time changes the past. So there effectively you've lived longer pretty much. Like because now you've lived the time traveler has lived all of this plus going back to the future. Back to the future. Oh my gosh. But that's how it works. Which so like the problem of the story is, oh, you've gone back and it's changed your future. Well, it's not your future. It's the future that's going to happen. And so oh, we got to fix it. Now we've changed it. He did fix the problems that he was having, but he's not back on his timeline. You can see that things are different. He's in a new timeline that where the outcome is desirable for him. He didn't fix the past. This one I think is a good time travel but with problems. This one because it is consistent. You're always on a new timeline, so it like there's no confusing things happening. There's no paradoxes going on because let's say for the grandfather paradox. Let's talk about this. In Back to the Future, you could kill your grandpa, and he does. He prevents his own happenings, right? He's now on a new timeline where he doesn't exist. Well, that's not the same him, so it doesn't matter because it's a new timeline. That's what Back to the Future is about. Slightly more confusing, but still makes sense. Agreed? Not the best type
Agreed.
of time travel. Here's what else I got. I have some other things time travels. Have you what are you laughing at?
No, you've just never been so excited about a topic.
I did all of my research was done in like 15 minutes, right? Immediately after you said this was going to be the topic, and I haven't thought about it since,
Mm,
which I probably should have because I had no way to organize my thoughts. I just listed a bunch of things.
mm.
There's some other ways of time travel. So like in uh I I have a handful of things. In like Bill and Ted, it doesn't it's the same kind of where Harry Potter where everything's already happened, but everything does now he's happened. Because they actually do two things in Bill and Ted. Number one, they go back to the past and change some things, and then because of what they did, it's the way that they are. So like they go back time, historical figures, and then they give them kind of ideas, and then those historical figures have those ideas that's why Bill and Ted know them. This is a loop. This makes less sense because where did that knowledge come from in the first place? Nobody knows because they all got it from each other, a big loop. You following? But they
Mm-hmm.
also break this when like there's a bit in the first movie where they're like, we'll just remember to go back and give it. I don't remember what they need, but we'll remember to come back and leave these here for us to have now. This breaks their own time travel rules because it should be a loop when this is the beginning of something where them going back hasn't actually gone back. They're going forward to go back, but it doesn't matter because they break their own time travel in the other movies anyway, so it doesn't matter. In I in like there's other time travels like Planet of the Apes or Interstellar. These are Interstellar's a little, they do a little extra stuff, but basically you can do that. That's real time travel. You're only going forward. You can only go forward, and it makes sense. That's just time dilation. It all makes sense. You can do that. But time travel to the future is stupid. Why would you want to? Well, you can't go to the past? Ridiculous. Thumbs down from Becca, although thumbs up for consistency if you disregard Interstellar because they kind of go too sciencey into that. Otherwise, good. You don't. I can't remember. Do you like Interstellar?
It's about
Y-
space.
Okay.
Boring.
You don't
Boring.
dislike it because of the ending. You dislike it because it's a space movie.
Correct.
I couldn't remember.
Hmm.
Couldn't remember.
Yeah. Interstellar is the most boy movie. Like, and what I mean by that is if you ask any guy, like type guy, like you know what I'm talking about? And they're like you're like, "Oh, what's your favorite movie?" And they're like, "Interstellar is the greatest thing I've ever seen." You're done. No. No. Like they all say Interstellar is the don't get me wrong. I have my own thoughts about it. I dislike space movies. I find space boring. So that's why I don't like Interstellar. It's still it's a quality film and it won awards and it's great soundtrack, everything, story amazing. So like I just don't care about space. So like I'm not knocking that it's a good film, but like every single guy is like Interstellar changed my life. No, it didn't. It actually didn't. Continue.
Here are some other time travel things. You've never seen Donnie Darko, right?
I don't think so.
I'm going to now spoil the whole movie for you, if
Wait,
that's
who's in
okay.
it? Who's in it? Is Jake Gyllenhaal
Jake
in it?
Gyllenhaal.
Okay,
Yeah, he's the main guy.
I maybe I'm thinking of Zodiac. Is Jake Gyllenhaal in Zodiac?
I've never seen Zodiac, but I think isn't Robert Downey Jr. in Zodiac?
Yes, but I thought they were both in it.
It's possible.
Give me two, 2 seconds.
There's
Wait,
actually
wait for it.
two Jake Gyllenhaal movies I'm going to talk about today.
Oh shoot.
Ooh, the other one,
Yes, he
time
is in
travel is not.
Zodiac. So I think I've seen Zodiac, not Donnie Darko.
Okay,
Either way, don't remember. So
I'm gonna spoil the whole movie for you
okay,
because number one, I don't think you'll watch it. Number two, I don't think you would like it if you watched it. Here's the premise of the movie. I'm gonna explain the whole movie because it centers around this idea.
okay,
Donnie Darko is the guy's name. He has like visions of this like bunny guy and he kind of like follows him around and stuff. He follows this bunny guy one day in the middle of the night, and so he's not at his house. At that night, at the during the night while he's not there, a engine from a plane falls on his house right over his bedroom. That would have killed him if he was there, but he survived because he wasn't there. Then he starts having all these other visions of like he gets obsessed with like time travel things. He sees like where people will be before they're actually there, but so he's like predicting all these things and he's like kind of freaking out about it and like having visions and all these things. And he notices like things that will happen in the future, but it's not like a vision, but it's like as it's happening going on. They do it in a very, very cool way. It's a very good movie. I enjoyed this part. At Towards the end of the movie, his whole time he's like thinking about all this stuff. He's talking about wormholes this whole time, about time travel and wormholes. He's like, how I don't understand how I'm seeing the future. I don't understand how this is going on. All these things. What happens is at the end, and he goes and talks to this lady who's supposed to know stuff. She's like old and whatever. What happens in the end is his family is on a plane And I guess he's not in there. The plane goes into a wormhole that opens back up on that day that he didn't go in. He goes through with the knowledge that he's going back in time. The people in the plane don't know that. It doesn't matter, they all die. He goes back and goes back into that movie ends with him going into his room where the day the plane falls and him dying that time. So it's a closed loop. No one else knows about the future, but he did experience a time loop, if you
Okay.
get me. There was a
Okay.
wormhole and it kind of went both ways, but it kind of didn't. This kind of time travel, I think, regardless of like it's how complex it is, because it is difficult to explain, but I think watching the movie or similar movies, and I have other similar movies, like I feel like it feels very time travel in a way that's not very sciencey, and I think that they do that excellently. I enjoy that greatly. But anyway, like it is a closed loop. He does have visions of the future, which breaks the time travel rules because he hasn't been to the future, but he's seeing them kind of as they play out. There's a bit where he sees like kind of these orbs come out of people and go into the path of where they're about to be walking. He's seeing the future, but he's not, it's kind of time travel. It's because of the wormhole. My point is, it's a complex loop, but I enjoy this movie. And it doesn't actually follow any of the time travel lines that we've been talking about, like the timelines, because no one else has this ability to see like he does. And actually, so it's a little confusing. Skipping ahead a little bit. What else do I have? I wrote down a lot of these, but I'm realizing a lot of them are the same, and I just wrote them as different. What else we got? You got other time travels for me? I feel like there are a handful.
There are a multitude of versions of Groundhog Day.
Yeah, time loops, stuck in a time loop. Those are nice. That's another nice way to time travel because it's enclosed. You only know what you already know from going back. You can't go back far enough to cause trouble. You can't go f for f continuing into the future enough to cause trouble until you find that one way that gets you out. And now you're old, but nothing has happened. There are no consequences to this time travel. Not only are there no consequences, but it's done in a clean way. Like as opposed to like the Bill and Ted, there's no consequences, but they cause a bunch of problems within, and it's contradictory. Yeah,
You also brought up before we started recording Umbrella Academy time
yeah.
travel.
Okay, I brought this up because I remember. Okay, it's been a while since I've seen this show. I probably haven't seen the show since the last season come out. What was that? A year ago? 2 years ago? I think it was just 1 year ago. But I'm really
Yeah,
good at forgetting things.
I think it was last, I think it was 2024.
Their time travel is they rewrite their own time travel. They're not jumping. They're kind of jumping timelines, but they're kind of not jumping timelines. They call them timelines, don't they? When they jump back, because at the end of the second season, they jump back to their future after changing the past, and there's a new them. Uh, the Sparrow Academy. But that's not a new. Is it not a new timeline because what they did in that past actually didn't happen. Because when they in season three, season four, I don't know, they go back and it's changed, but it's not because they went back. It's because of things they did in the future that went back. Are you following me? I feel like you're
No,
not. Okay, let me
I've seen the show.
you explain the time travel of this show and then I'll interject when I feel the need.
Well, um, the there's lots of different versions of time travel, I feel, in Umbrella Academy, because for one, you have Five, who can just time travel in his own right. He can go to the future and the past, but he can't, well, he kind of can control it, kind of not. So that's like, there's not really like anything, like you can't really be like, oh, this is how it works, because he doesn't really know how it works, and he just going places. Um,
I
what was
was gonna
that?
say, I feel like they do, I'm agreeing with you in that they do kind of do it two ways. For example, when, I don't know what end of the season is, when, who is the head honcho lady? The blonde girl. I don't know. There's
Oh,
a bit where they're at the, this is season two, because they're in the past. They're in the barn, and she has just killed everybody except Five. Five goes back in time, kind of. Yeah, he does, but it's different than when he's gone back before. He's not jumping timelines. He's just going back in that same timeline and then
hmm.
re doing things in the future to change that, to change with him getting shot. But in that same thing, when they use the suitcases or when he goes, I guess he never goes back by himself in that same way. When they use the suitcases to go back, they are jumping timelines. And we know this
Hmm.
because the what do they call the headquarters? Like TVA-esque, whatever
Yeah,
that's
I
called.
wanted to say TVA, but it's
That's
not.
separate from the timelines. That's how we know they're jumping timelines and not going back in their single timeline and rewriting it. We also know this because their same selves from other timelines, the Sparrow Academy, can go with them to back in time. They run forward in time, whatever. That's how you know it's not one thing. They're jumping between timelines in that instance where there are, uh, for lack of a better word, like duplicates of themselves. They're jumping between timelines, not going back on their one line. This is kind of how it works. Not exactly. This is kind of how it works in the MCU, where there are their own timelines, but there are different, like,
Branches.
there's a different branches that go across each other. That, oh, these are similar, these are similar. They started off in the same way, but then they branched off, and you can jump between them. But there are higher, there's a bigger time scale happening within in the multiverse, I guess is the best way to say it. There's one timeline within the multiverse that has multiple timelines, like universes. Because they have things like the TVA that's separate from any one timeline, but then they also have, if a character goes between timelines and changes things and then goes back, that time is one time. They can't go back in time and change what they've already changed. So that's one timeline for them, which means that there's one timeline for that whole chunk of universe. Does that make sense? Like, it's kind of like you got the branches here, and you can go back and forth and whatever, but there's one big time that's moving. It doesn't necessarily follow the characters, but their time is moving forward independently of them jumping through universes.
Hmm.
This is where it gets confusing because you start using, like what I said, you start using the same words for different things. I'm saying timelines when they're jumping back and forth because that's what they use, when really they're just going to like universes. They're going to different places. They're different places in time space, but they're not actually moving through time. They're going at the same time because all the universes are happening at the same time. If they go to another universe where alternate them is doing something different, alternate them is there in the same place in time as they were in their own universe. It's not shifted. But when they travel, I guess it doesn't matter if they travel or not. They're all moving on that same one timeline. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense.
That differs from like Interstellar where they're all kind of experiencing at the same time. There are some bits, yeah. I just recently watched a movie called Mr. Nobody, which I'd never heard of before I watched this. But the premise of this is, spoilers again. There's this one kid who's kind of seeing the future based on his decisions that he's making. And he's also experiencing them as he's old. So in a way, he's experiencing every experience he's ever had and ever will have at the same time, which is a form of time travel. And I feel like that's different from moving timelines because he's experiencing it all at the same time, which is completely the opposite way that the Marvel universe works, where there's one big time within the multiverses.
Mm.
You've got thoughts?
No, I think it's time for a bracket.
Okay.
Unless you have any other thoughts. I'm sure once we talk about these movies, more
Yeah,
thoughts will.
I've got other like examples and stuff, but they're very similar to like I have a lot written about Doctor Who, but that's really there's one that's one it's one big well, it's actually not. I was gonna say it's one big timeline like Marvel, but it's actually not. It's the where everything has already happened and he's jumping through.
Hmm.
Just because he's aging differently, he already ages differently. Everyone who jumps with him already ages differently because that's how it happens. But there is only one timeline, and it's not the big timeline. It's the single timeline. Let's go to your bracket. I'm
Okay.
confusing people listening.
I have prepared a 16 seed bracket with movies slash TV show that is it features time travel. I have grouped some of them together that feature likewise time travel. And are we saying this bracket is for the best version of time travel or the best use within the movie of time travel? Or like least messy or like what's the parameters of this bracket?
Um, I'm gonna say best use within the universe because I think that will be interesting. Because I've
Okay.
talked about like I think that the least messy and arguably the best kind of time travel is Harry Potter, where there's
Hmm.
one timeline, time works as time does. You've gone back, you can't mess with anything. It's very clean.
I too
But
think that would be the winner, like if we were going on that. So we're saying best use within the movie.
best use whether or not it's within the story, but how you could use it best, you know?
Okay, okay. So first up, and I have not seen all of the movies on here, but and you have probably not seen all of them, but as a combination of us two, we've seen all of them.
All right.
Anyway, so first up we have Back to the Future up against it's a grouping of Somewhere in Time, The Greatest Hits, Time Traveler's Wife. Are you familiar with any of those three?
I have read the book, The Time Traveler's Wife. Is
Okay.
the movie the same?
Basically, I grouped these three together because they're like going back in time, but they don't control when or where they go back in time. So like uh Somewhere in Time, he's like self hypnosis to go back. Greatest Hits is she gets in an accident, so like her brain gets a little messed up, and whenever she hears a song that's associated with a memory, she like goes back to that memory, but like she can't control it. Time Traveler's Wife, he can't control it. He's just it's like those that kind of I feel like those were all the same
Okay.
up
I
against Back
feel
to the
like
Future.
okay. In Back to the Future, they go back in time for fun. Most kind of the plan is to go back in time for fun. He does it on accident, but still, they go back in time for fun. And then by doing that, they figure out that they cause problems, and then they have to try and fix it. So they've caused their own problems. It wasn't time travel's fault.
Hmm.
Although they by time traveling, they do go onto a different timeline, but they don't know that. It's they cause their own problems for the time travel. I think this one would be super fun. Like it's another like fun time travel. You just have to have the risk that you are going to change things, but you can change things for the better. So I think this time travel is I don't know. But the time traveler's wife kind of thing can't control when you're gonna time travel, can't control where you're gonna end up. You can't ever not be time traveling in a sense because you won't ever have that linear life. You're always living somewhere else. And I think that's a huge, huge negative, but it does
Mm,
make for an excellent story. It does make for a uniqueness that none of these other time travel, maybe a little Doctor Who, but like none of the other time travels have this kind of nuance where your own life is lived out of order.
mm.
I'm gonna pick Back to the Future.
I too. Um, I yeah, like you said, I enjoy those movies, but if I were to be gifted the gift of time travel, I would prefer to use Back to the Future's method. So, next up, we have About Time, which you haven't seen, but it's one of my faves, versus Endgame.
Okay. Give me the rundown on how you see both of these.
Okay, so About Time, I told you about this, but I'll refresher. About Time is this man can go back in time to moments in his life only. So, like, he goes back into his body in that moment, and he could continue to live out however long, or he can go back to that moment, do whatever he needs to do, and then go back to the present. But whatever he has done in the past does change the future. So, like, he goes back in time to for this one specific moment, and uh like can like they conceive a baby, but he like does it differently. So when he goes back to the future, his baby instead of a girl is now a boy because like it happened differently. Like that makes sense.
Yeah.
And he doesn't remember the things in between because the last thing he knew was that moment, and then he goes back to the present. So that was confusing, but do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay. Endgame. Endgame, Marvel MCU, many timelines. In Endgame, they jump back in time all at the same time, two different timelines. Or I guess it's the one timeline, but they're all in different points in time. And they're getting things, getting stones or whatever, to come back to the future to use said stones. From my understanding, that doesn't really change the future when they take these stones. Or does it? But it doesn't really matter because then they use the stones so quickly. Anyway, that
You're saying their future or the future of the past?
the future of the past.
Yeah, they make a point about giving him back. But I think even if they hadn't, it's not. We've got to the point, especially because it's Marvel. They've kind of like messed with it so much that you don't care about it because you're like, well, it doesn't matter that much because it doesn't
Yes.
matter that much. Which, from
Yes.
a writer's standpoint, like the audience loses interest because there's no stakes,
Mhm.
but they do it a little differently.
For that reason, I'm going About Time.
Yeah, okay. Well, but if I wanted it, then I would want one that didn't matter what I did, right? Because then I could go back and do whatever I want.
Yeah, but I think because they made a point to go and put the stones back, like in reality, it would have changed the future. Like for example, when they go back in time to get the the Mind Stone in the Tesseract, and then Loki accidentally gets set free. Like that does change the things. It's just not really played out in Endgame.
It does. Okay, this is kind of what I'm saying before, where it's not really time travel. You're going within the multiverses, I guess. It's one multiverse
Mhm.
with verses in them because they're not going back in their own time to act out what they happened, changing on that. They're they're just playing out time new because then Loki goes back and then it's all the TVA stuff and it's
Mhm.
different. Uh, so
It's
I feel like that's less time. That's like less time travel.
it feels too easy.
Yeah. I feel like it's more universe with the same amount of time, you know?
So About Time.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, we have Days of Future Past versus Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Actually, well, yeah.
But
Days of Future Past is interesting because you've made a
mhm,
point a lot to be like, well, the future doesn't change until you come back from the past. And that's
yeah.
relevant because it's tied to a person, and if that person dies, then you can't come back.
Yes.
But I really like I feel like
And
it doesn't matter that much.
the thing I find interesting specifically about this time travel is they don't send Wolverine back to the past. They only send his conscience, which creates interesting things that happen within the time travel itself. Um, but
Yeah, you
still
you
Harry
can only
Potter.
go into your own time. So like
Mm-hmm.
it's lucky that he lives a long time because then he
Mm-hmm.
was old enough to go back to when they needed him to be. Because if they had sent, they originally want to send Xavier, don't they? But then they can't. Oh, you're too old, or it'll destroy your mind, or whatever. If they had sent him back, like Wolverine doesn't have to go and convince him because he's him. But then I don't know. I just feel like it's much, much different. I don't know. I'll pick Harry Potter.
Okay, Harry Potter. Okay, next up we have Groundhog Day, Edge of Tomorrow, all of those, whatever. Against Interstellar.
I feel like okay, this might be this might be an interesting take, but I feel like I would rather, if you were to gift me a time travel, I would rather pick a time loop, even though this one, out of all of them, causes the most personal trauma, I guess. But I'm like, that's that's kind of what I want. I read a book forever ago, it was the kid's book, and he's an inventor pretty much, and how the inventor like makes so many things is he goes into this like pocket of time where time exists like separate. So like he every time he goes in the pocket, he can spend his own life, but when he comes back, no time has passed. So he uses all that time to become good at all these things and make all these things. I feel like that's kind of how the time loops like they eventually after they like they're disappointed that they're there obviously because they want their lives to go on but then they just do a bunch of things they learn a bunch of things they like I don't know I feel like I like this idea because you know how like it's a big theme with people who are like oh there's not enough time in your life is short all these things so I'm like that would solve everything that you want to do just by yourself you could do within this own time loop and you'd get over it because you have so much time to think about it and
Mm-hmm.
then hopefully you get out. I've yet to see a one that they don't get out, but you eventually get out, and now you have everything that you had, and you get to live the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
If you win, what are they fighting in Edge of Tomorrow? Those little alien guys, but like
Yeah.
same. So I think that's not a popular take
I
because it causes so much trouble for the people.
I'm gonna agree with you on a different basis because Interstellar, like you're saying, you can only go forward in time. Um, like this to me feels like the worst gift of time travel because you just lose your whole life. Like you can go to the future, but like at what cost? Like,
I feel like these are kind of opposite time travels where
mhm,
you both can't change anything. You can't change anything in the past. You can't change anything really in the future. Um, although you do get knowledge, but I feel like Groundhog Day is an easy win for this one. You get more time plus your life.
mhm,
Interstellar is you get less time plus your life.
mhm. So Groundhog Day.
Yeah,
All right, next up we have Tenet, which you've seen.
I have seen one third of Tenet.
You have talked about Tenet. Okay, then I'm changing it to Erased, which you have seen.
I have seen that.
Okay, Erased versus A Christmas Carol.
Oh, A Christmas Carol. I thought you said A Christmas Story, and I was like, they
No,
don't. When did they go back in time?
no,
Okay,
no, no.
A Christmas Carol is unique because it's kind of like uh what I've talked about a little bit. I can't remember which one, but they go back in time and they can do whatever, like Groundhog Day. You go back in time and you use up time, but you come back and no time has changed, and you're just left with knowledge. This is
Mhm,
positive. This is just like Groundhog Day without you're not stuck there. So it's not Scrooge deciding to come back, but someone does have control of him coming back.
mhm,
Erased is difficult because so you go back in time you can't go jump forward in time. You have to live out that time.
Mm,
Which can be useful if you want to change something in your past, but then you have to change it right because he doesn't ever go back. Well, I guess he does, but like, so you've never seen the show, but at the beginning he goes back just a few minutes. He doesn't control it. He sees a butterfly and he'll jump back in time. And so usually it's like a few minutes, and he usually stops like some disaster from happening. And then the plot of the show is he goes back like 20 years and then stops another disaster. But then he has to live out that life,
mm,
um, which I think is a huge downside.
hmm.
What was the other one?
Christmas
Christmas Story.
Carol.
Christmas Carol, because it's just like Groundhog Day. It's everything you regular life plus extra stuff. Good time travel.
Yeah, you're just gaining knowledge.
Yeah.
Nothing really bad happens.
Which
Okay.
I do think erased is probably the way to go if you're wanting to change the past, which is what time travel is about. If you're talking about time travel, you want to go back and change stuff. Christmas Carol, Groundhog Day, they don't do that. They're not interesting time travel. They're not they're not fun, but
Mm,
they're not bad.
mm,
There's no negative, or
mm.
there's not great negative.
All right, next up we have Memento, which you've seen.
Yes, you've never seen Memento,
No.
okay?
Up against Click. Have you seen Click?
I have not seen Click, but that's the one with you just
The
pause
remote.
people, right?
Well, he can,
Okay,
yeah, he can pause it and he can like fast forward.
can you rewind?
I don't think he can rewind.
Okay. You
Let
can
me double
fast forward
check.
and things. The reason I was confused, you said Memento. This is
Oh,
kind
he
of
he can rewind. He
spoilers.
can rewind.
This is kind of spoilers for Memento, but there's not actually time travel involved at all.
What?
They do mess with like time and memories and all this. They're like, ooh, time travel. Spoilers, there is none.
Oh. So
So,
then Click.
yeah. Plus
I
Click. I've never seen Click, but getting to control other people, isn't that a
hmm.
good part of time travel? I'm sure the movie explores why it's not, but
Yeah. Okay, next up we have Donnie Darko versus Bill and Ted,
Bill and Ted, if I were to to have that kind of time travel, Bill and Ted is the way to go
which
always.
I've
You get to
seen.
do whatever you want.
I haven't seen either of those.
There are three. We
No, I mean
own.
Donnie Darko or
Oh,
Bill and Ted.
then yeah, Donnie Darko is not useful for yourself. It is cool, like it's a cool interpretation of time travel. But Bill and Ted, you you just gotta have adventure, like what they said. You just gotta go around. You can travel wherever and come back, and it doesn't necessarily change crazy things because it's kind of already happened. But yeah, Bill
Okay.
and Ted for sure
Okay.
to get be given for me.
Then we have Doctor Who versus the Umbrella Academy.
This is interesting because so Doctor Who is kind of like Bill and Ted. You can just kind of go anywhere and you live a life kind of separate and you're kind of like threaded through, kind of like a time traveler's wife. Um, but Umbrella Academy, I want to say you have more control because I feel like they use it with more precision in the show. But really, Doctor Who, because what happens in most episodes is, hey, we're gonna go to this time and place, and then they end up not quite where they ended up tried to be.
Okay, here's what I want to clarify with Umbrella Academy. We were saying there's two, like the suitcases and
I'm
Fives.
I'm assuming it's the suitcases.
Oh, because I was gonna say Fives ability because if we're just talking about the Umbrella Academy, I think Fives ability is a greater, like I would rather have Fives ability than the suitcase because the suitcase only has so many uses and you have to have the suitcase. So, but if I myself can just time, what do they call it? What do they call him doing
Um,
his thing?
blip, blink,
Blinking?
I think
Whatever.
they call it blip or something like that.
So if you can
Flash.
just do that yourself, I would rather have that. Does that make sense?
You'd rather have the ability to do it yourself, but be able to control it a little bit less than have it with the
Yeah.
suitcase?
Yeah, because he eventually learns how to control it more. So if you had it, you could, I think he would eventually be able to master this skill.
Okay.
Whereas the suitcase is kind of a hindrance.
I still would pick Doctor Who.
But what I'm just saying is, if we're talking about
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Umbrella
yeah.
Academy, we're deciding that in this bracket, we're talking about Five's ability.
Yeah.
Okay, so Five's ability up against Doctor Who, which I've never seen Doctor Who.
You just it's a big time machine you go into and you
Yeah, yeah,
spaceship to wherever you want.
yeah. That does seem that seems like Five's ability, just with more control.
It's more control, but also it comes with it's pre-built with a spaceship. You get to
Hmm.
just bring whatever and whoever you want,
But can the TARDIS go anywhere?
pretty much.
Like if
I
I'm like,
can't.
but if I'm like, so if I arrive at our house and then I go 5 miles down the road, and from that 5 miles down the road, I'm like, oh, I want to time travel. Do I have to go back to the TARDIS, or can I like call upon the TARDIS?
They do call the TARDIS. It has kind of like a semi-consciousness. Typically, it doesn't fly by itself, but it does in some episodes. That's usually when they're in space. Usually when they're on Earth going somewhere, they do have to go back to the TARDIS. There's lots of things where it's like it's locked in a room or somebody took it or whatever, and then they can't time travel.
Mm,
But it does have like other people can't get into it. It's just you.
okay. Okay. I mean, the way you just explained it feels like the same hindrance that the suitcase has.
But it comes with a spaceship. You can live in it.
Space is boring though.
Like, but there's a pool in the TARDIS. There's a what else they have? All kinds of things. Lots of
I'll defer to
buttons.
you because you're the time travel expert, but I'm saying personally, I would have Five's ability.
Okay. He I guess they do take people with them, but I feel like generally that's like an awkward ability to take people with you.
Mm. So we're
Uh,
saying Doctor Who?
Yeah,
Okay. All right, back to the beginning. We have Back to the Future or About Time.
Back to the Future.
You think?
Yeah.
But like
Oh, actually, hold on. Okay. Back to the Future.
he almost ceased
All
to exist.
always new timeline. But about
Yeah.
time, you can't go back further than you've gone before. Like you can't go
Hmm.
back to before you were born,
Hmm.
which is a positive and a negative. Because what if I want to be seeing medieval times? Can't. But also can't mess with my own like can't I wouldn't kill myself by going just to see stuff.
Hmm. Also, we forgot to mention the first time around, but now that we've been talking about hindrances, you have to have the DeLorean.
Yeah, comes with a car, which is
Hmm.
cool. Uh, in the first movie, huge hindrance. You have to fuel it. In all
Hmm.
other movies, you just need anything to put in,
Hmm.
which I guess
I
still
I think I want to go About Time.
you'd rather only be able to travel within your own life, whether as to
Yeah.
like wherever you want.
Yeah, because if I'm thinking about like again the gift of time travel, the use of time travel in About Time is so much more useful than Back to the Future, in my opinion. Because what he goes back in time to make his dad like a cool guy, right?
In Back to the Future,
Yeah.
the first time he goes back, it's an accident.
Right, but okay. Okay, you're right. Oh no, he goes back to save um Doc.
In the third one,
No, 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 in the first one. Well, okay. I guess he is okay. He okay, you're right, it is an accident, but so he's just running away from those guys, I guess. I guess it's been a hot minute since I've seen Back to the Future. But then once he's there, he has to make his dad cool or whatever. And then he's also trying to say so I was correct, but like
that
in
was
the
that was
wrong way.
like the third thing he was concerned with.
Yeah, anyway. What was I saying? Um, oh, so okay, when he goes back in time in Back to the Future, he has automatically changed the future. And like in most of the time, a drastic way, which seems dangerous, and I wouldn't want to mess with that. About time is like your personal whatever. There's only one time in the movie, which is the example I gave with his baby, that it comes out wrong. All the
I
other times he
think
uses it is like little mishaps that like he easily corrects or like whatever.
I think I'm still leaning towards Back to the Future, and maybe this is a little what I was talking about with Doctor Who, because you can travel, like you can fast travel within your own time. If I wanted to go to Canada, I could just fly the DeLorean or like I wouldn't have to time travel to move quickly. I think that's a bonus. And I feel like I don't have much need, or I like the idea of not just time traveling to change my own life, but to like go see things, which is why I like I said, Doctor Who before. But like they're going back in time or to the future to check things out, to see. I feel like that's why I like it more. It's less
Okay.
let's change things in my life.
Okay, fine. All right,
Another
next up
another win.
we have Groundhog Day versus Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
Yeah.
That one's probably gonna win.
Even though we changed the rules so that it wouldn't be a shoo-in. All right, next up we have Click versus Christmas Carol.
I kind of like Click because that we have multiple options. All of these are like changing your own life, changing whatever, and I'm like, oh, I can control other people, which
Okay.
not exactly like not crazy time travel, but it is you get the effects of time travel without actually having to travel.
hmm Okay, then we have Bill and Ted versus Doctor Who.
These are very similar, but I think I'm gonna pick Doctor Who for the same like, it's a spaceship. You can travel within your own time.
Mm. Okay, semifinals. Back to the Future versus Harry Potter.
What are your thoughts here?
I think, like, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to say Harry Potter
You got
because
me
when you
there.
think, okay, here's why I am picking it. Harry Potter, like, I don't know another time travel movie that does it like Harry Potter because, and when you think about it, you're like, that's actually genius because they still time traveled and changed things, but then it is a reality you knew. Like, it just,
All
you
the
know?
things we've been talking about for the other timelines were like, oh, we'd rather one that you don't like. It is unfortunate. The thing that you don't like is that you do have to have the time turner, which is a negative. But
hmm
all of the other positives I think apply to this one, where like you won't ever mess anything up. You're always in the same timeline. You do gain knowledge, and you can have like that extra pocket of time. Like Hermione originally, she uses it to go back to take more classes. Like you have extra time.
hmm
So it's all the positives and only one of the negatives. Genius. It is quite, of all the knickknacks we're looking at, I think it's the most easiest to lose or destroy.
Oh, I
But
was gonna say easiest to keep with you at all
yeah,
times.
that's what I'm saying. Easiest
Yeah.
to keep with you as well.
Yeah. So Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Okay. Click versus Doctor Who.
Um, I think Doctor Who,
Really? Why?
because Click, I'm only controlling people I know pretty much, or people in my life. Doctor Who, I can go see new things I never seen in my life before. Go visit aliens, go visit the history, go see the future. Click is like, boop, uh, you're now muted, kind of thing.
Okay. Okay, so the finals is Doctor Who versus Harry Potter.
I mean,
Two very different things, and for each reason that these ones have beat out the other ones, you have put Doctor Who above the other ones because you want to see things and travel
Yeah.
versus Harry Potter that the mechanics of the time travel are the best.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on this? Because I know you're not necessarily on my travel train.
Well, uh I would love the ability to travel and do all that stuff. Um, but I do think this is a time travel bracket. So if we're basing it off um time travel rules and specifics and what did we say at the beginning of this bracket? How it's used in the film? I think Harry Potter still has to take it because it 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 is truly like the cleverest, like least messy, best use of time travel in between these two pieces of media. Again, I have not seen Doctor Who, but I'm pretty aware of what's going on. If you were to gift me one of these things, I'd probably take the TARDIS for what you're saying, like very easy travel, but that's all I'd be using it for. Like I- the time travel element of the TARDIS isn't really striking me as much as the time turner um mechanics.
I think Time Turner is much more subtle, and I agree with that. I think I'm gonna have to pick Harry Potter because of how it's used within its own story.
Mm,
Because I feel like because it's so popular, Harry Potter, lots of people are hung up on the Time Turner. Why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? When there is it's such an easy solution is that they couldn't have because of how the beginning starts, right? Exactly what I said at the beginning. There is
mm-hmm.
no problem with Time Turner. You're just not thinking enough. You think one more sentence and you got it. So I gotta pick Harry Potter.
And specifically in Prisoner of Azkaban, like after you've watched that movie and you understand how the time turner works, rewatching that movie and being like, "Oh, literally everything was has already happened," and you watch it happen in that way. Like when the guy throws down his axe and you think it's Buckbeak, but it's actually the pumpkin. And Hermione hitting herself in the back of the head with the rock. Like all of those little things are like, this was done so well. Like it is the best piece of time travel media. Is that what I'm saying?
Sure.
But I would like to travel with the TARDIS. I'm just thinking about the money it would save me, travel costs. But other than that, and if we're gonna say still comparing Doctor Who up with Harry Potter, both of these whatever time travel ways, you need the thing. You need the TARDIS and you need the time turner. Time turner, small, easy, keep on me at all times. TARDIS, if I go 10 miles down the road, I'm gonna have to come 10 miles back, like you said, which
I
that is
think
annoying.
this is interesting because we're using it as we're not fighting anybody, and so I think the time turner is good. But if we had other people that we were trying not to time travel with us, time turner is a negative. It's easily stolen, easily
Mm,
destroyed. They can use
mm,
it if they have it. TARDIS, they can't get into it. It has
mm.
like its own defenses and stuff, and they probably couldn't fly it even if they could. You can hide within it, like it's good, but we're not fighting nobody. So within our
Mm.
lives, it's much better to have a time turner. I'll
And with
take one.
that, as we thought it would, Harry Potter comes out on top.
I find it so funny that we changed the rules more than once so that it wouldn't win. And I didn't think it was gonna win, but it did.
What can you say?
So, is that it? We got any final
That's
thoughts?
that's it. That's it.
Okay.
All right. Mother is back.
Yeah.
Okay. Toodaloo. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.